Hello everyone and welcome back, and let's take a look at the action genre for a while. And no, I'm not talking about superhero movies or adventure films like Indiana Jones or even movies like Aliens or Minority Report, which have action scenes but are not what I would call pure action. I'm talking the kind of action movies who have a larger-than-life star, usually a guy with big muscles or martial arts training, a distinctive personality, a use of memorable one-liners or dialogue, and of course, totally badass or outrageous action scenes, mostly ones involving a lot of firepower and kicks and punches to the heads of bad guys. And of course, we always must have either a ruthless or deliciously over-the-top villain, who usually dies in exceedingly violent or over-the-top ways. Now, for those of you who came in late to this trend, this was during the 70s, 80s, and early to mid-90s, the days when action films centered around the star as well as the action spectacle that surrounded them. The days when the action hero was tough, masculine, and had an infectious personality, and people looked up to not just the character, but the actor. As of now, I am 24 years old, going on 25 in the end of May this year. I grew up near the end of this era and style of action film. However, I have an older brother who used to watch a lot of these kinds of action films, and I saw some of these on TV also. I got to see films like Rambo, Terminator, Total Recall, Fearless Hyena, and Pray for Death. And for those of you who are wondering why I am talking about the action genre all of a sudden, particularly of this style, which I guess you could call the manly action film, but I like to call it the FMG genre, which stands for fights, muscles, and guns. My reason as to why I am talking about this style of action film is because it's almost a dead style. There aren't many action films of this nature being played in cinemas anymore. Now, these kinds of films are still being made, but they usually go direct to video and aren't always the best quality in terms of execution or memorable moments. Granted, there are films like Taken, The Equalizer, the Fast and the Furious franchise, and of course the Mission Impossible franchise. These films have come out or are coming out, but they lack something. They lack a certain purity. For example, Taken has Liam Neeson starring as an action hero. While I like the first Taken film, and I think Neeson is very good in it, there's something missing. And I think it's that sense of Liam Neeson not being a true action star. I mean, the man didn't start out his career doing action. He started out doing dramas and thrillers mostly. Same with Denzel Washington, who was in The Equalizer. Tom Cruise was a sex symbol for young women during his Top Gun days, doing comedies and movies like Days of Thunder. Now, there's nothing wrong with any of those actors. They do a good job with what abilities they have, but they just don't have that larger-than-life screen presence or personality. They are just merely good actors. Now, some of you may say, well, what about Jason Statham? What about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson? What about Vin Diesel? Well, that's true. Those guys are among the few that still somewhat wave the flag for the tough and masculine action hero. However, let's be honest. Outside of their big franchises, these guys have had varying to little success with their films. This was also true with the past action heroes, but not nearly as much as today's action heroes. Usually the most successful films these guys make are franchise-based movies. For example, Fast and the Furious, which initially starred Vin Diesel, is now even more successful with the inclusion of The Rock. And now they've also added Jason Statham to the mix. However, if you take these actors individually and have them be in their own movie, chances are it's going to flop 80% of the time, or it will go direct to video. However, I have noticed a glimmer of hope for this style of action film. There is sort of a mini revival of this genre. Films like John Wick, The Raid, Ninja Shadow of a Tear, the Undisputed series, and even full-fledged homages like The Expendables are all coming out in theaters or direct-to-video, and they are getting positive responses from the old action fans as well as getting some new ones. So maybe there's hope yet. I think this genre is going to re-emerge at some point, but it's going to happen very slowly. In fact, that's probably the best way for it to re-emerge. Slowly, not to oversaturate the market, much like all the superhero movies have done for the past decade or so. Not to mention a lot of crappy Michael Bay films, as well as other films that try to copy his formula. And I think we all can agree that we could use a break from those kind of movies. So now, here's my little surprise for all of you action fans who love the guns and muscle style of action. I will be doing movie recommendations of a crapload of action films that I highly enjoy and recommend for you all. Some of these you may already be familiar with, and some you may not be. I will be talking about action stars like Bruce Lee, Chuck Norris, Clint Eastwood, Charles Bronson, Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Bruce Willis, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Steven Seagal, Jackie Chan, Dolph Lundgren, Brandon Lee, and the list just goes on and on. I'll also include some more obscure action films as well as some of the more obscure action stars, because there were some that truly deserved more attention. And I may also include some crossover stars like Kurt Russell and Patrick Swayze. So either way, I hope you are all excited for these reviews. The movies will not be in any particular order, they will be at random. So until then, stay tuned for the reviews. In the words of Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back. Ha! You didn't think I was gonna say that, did you?